the sky exploded into chaos the morning humanity's fate shifted forever. Every screen, every radio frequency, every smartphone on Earth flashed with the daunting image of alien warships, sleek, colossal, and metallic, casting enormous shadows that stretched ominously across cities below. This was not a movie teaser, not a hoax, but painfully and terrifyingly real. In a quaint cafe tucked away on Chicago's outskirts, people abandoned breakfasts mid-bite, clustering anxiously around the flickering TV mounted above the espresso machine. Among them stood Alex Grant, a respected historian from Northwestern University, staring numbly at the broadcast, his untouched coffee growing cold in his trembling hands. Beside him, Tanya, the cafe's spirited barista, usually sharp-tongued and sarcastic, was silent for once, eyes wide in disbelief. "Looks like Area 51 wasn't just a conspiracy theory after all," Tanya muttered, trying to mask her fear with humor, but her voice quivered subtly. Alex barely registered her attempt at levity. His mind raced, cycling through countless historical invasions, victories, defeats, searching desperately for a precedent, a clue, something that might guide humanity through this nightmare. It wasn't only the imposing presence of the ships that chilled him to the bone, it was their silence, an oppressive, absolute silence broadcast globally. No demands, no threats, just silence. Suddenly, the broadcast crackled violently, wrenching everyone's attention back to the screen. An alien visage appeared, humanoid yet disturbingly symmetrical, with unnaturally sharp features and eyes blazing with the unsettling glow of molten copper. Its voice was coldly mechanical yet disturbingly resonant, dripping with arrogant superiority. "We are the Zarkin Collective," it declared, each word deliberate and chilling. "Your species has been deemed primitive, violent, and disruptive. Under galactic law, Earth now belongs to us. Resist, and you face extinction. Comply, and you shall survive." Panic surged through the cafe. Tanya swore loudly, spilling coffee over the counter. Alex remained frozen, his historian's instinct wrestling with shock. First contact was meant to be diplomatic, careful, not a brutal ultimatum. His phone buzzed insistently, startling him. "An emergency alert from Northwestern, all staff report immediately for emergency briefing." Tanya's eyes met his, fear now plainly evident beneath her usual defiance. "Off to teach the aliens some human history," she joked weakly, her thin smile faltering. "Something like that," Alex replied grimly, stepping outside into a city thrown into turmoil. Familiar streets, once bustling with commuters, were now a scene of surreal dread. Military vehicles rolled past, loudspeakers issuing urgent orders to frighten crowds. At Northwestern, soldiers had swiftly barricaded entrances and exits. The university's main lecture hall had transformed into a bustling command center, military personnel intermingled with tense academics. At the heart of the room stood General Susan March, a figure of calm amidst the storm, her eyes fixed urgently on Alex. "Professor Grant," she addressed him sharply, relief flickering briefly across her disciplined expression, "you're now the most crucial historian on the planet." "General," Alex hesitated, momentarily overwhelmed, "I'm not." "You're the leading expert on human conflict and strategy," March interrupted firmly. "These aliens underestimate us. They're technologically advanced, but rigid. Predictable. Humanity thrives on chaos and unpredictability. That's our weapon." Understanding crystallized swiftly for Alex. He straightened, newfound determination igniting his spirit. "Give me all the intel we have, intercepted communications, sightings, everything. To beat them, we must know them intimately." Hours passed like a fever dream, Alex poring over intelligence briefings, eyewitness accounts from pilots who narrowly escaped encounters, and decrypted Zarkin transmissions. The Zarkin, he learned, relied heavily on structured tactics, superior technology, and overwhelming force. Yet, one vulnerability stood glaringly apparent, their supreme cultural arrogance, rendering them inflexible in combat. "We can't defeat them head-on," Alex explained bluntly to General March. "We must leverage unpredictability, guerrilla warfare, misinformation. They expect primitive behavior, let's give them primitive ingenuity." General March's eyes gleamed sharply. Then chaos will become our greatest ally. Rapidly, humanity adapted. Military and civilian resources united in creativity born of desperation. Jets became decoys, drones converted into remote explosives, and elaborate ambushes designed to exploit the Zarkin's arrogant rigidity. Days blurred, Alex working feverishly, exhaustion clawing at him. Victories came at heavy costs, cities burning, morale wavering dangerously close to collapse. Then, a late-night call shattered his weary days, Tanya's voice urgent and breathless. "Alex, listen," she cried, barely suppressing excitement. "I've been digging through conspiracy forums. Someone leaked the Zarkin communication. They're afraid of something historical, something they call the Historian." Alex jolted upright, energy surging anew. "Send it immediately." The recording was short yet profoundly revealing. The Zarkin spoke anxiously of the Historian, a mythic figure who nearly annihilated their empire by exploiting their tactical inflexibility, a legend now weaponized by the collective fear of their past. Minutes later, Alex burst into the command center, startling fatigued operatives. "General March. We've found our edge." He played the recording. Silence gripped the room momentarily before March's face lit with fierce resolve. "Professor," she proclaimed defiantly, ready to teach these aliens the lesson of a lifetime? "Absolutely," Alex responded firmly, his exhaustion giving way to blazing determination. Humanity's greatest advantage had just revealed itself, not advanced weaponry, but their collective history, wielded by a historian whose life's work had been preparing him unknowingly for this very moment. The Zarkin had arrived expecting a swift, brutal conquest. They were entirely unprepared for Earth's ultimate weapon, a historian armed with the cunning and unpredictable brilliance born from thousands of years of human conflict. Earth's people would soon rewrite the Zarkin's future by invoking their feared past. The initial battles against the Zarkin unfolded brutally. Cities across the globe became battlegrounds, each clash leaving scars etched deep into Earth's landscape and humanity's spirit. For Alex, days blurred together into endless strategizing sessions, briefings, and planning meetings punctuated by sudden, heart-stopping alarms as new threats emerged. In one such meeting, General March paced restlessly, eyeing the screens showing maps and real-time satellite images. "They're still pushing forward," she stated grimly, pointing toward glowing indicators marking ongoing battles. "Despite our guerrilla tactics, they're gaining ground. Their technology is devastating." "We anticipated heavy losses," Alex reminded her steadily, masking his own dread. "But remember, their strength is their arrogance. Every victory emboldens them, every move we make confuses them." March paused, sighing deeply. "It's the human cost, Alex. People are losing hope. If morale collapses, we won't stand a chance." Alex nodded soberly. He understood her fears intimately. Humanity's strength had always come from resilience, from hope in the face of overwhelming odds. The Zarkin's cold, calculated assaults weren't just physical, they were psychological. The aliens intended to crush Earth's spirit. Suddenly, an alarm blared urgently throughout the room. Screens flickered, displaying a live feed from London. A fleet of Zarkin ships descended rapidly, destroying landmarks with ruthless precision. Big Ben toppled, iconic streets reduced to rubble, and panic spread among survivors running desperately for safety. "They're striking symbols," Alex realized instantly, horror gripping him. "They're trying to break us by destroying our identity, our history." March clenched her fists, eyes blazing. "Then we must show them our true strength. Our history isn't buildings or monuments, it's our resilience, our people." Immediately, Alex rallied the team, formulating a bold new strategy. He proposed an unprecedented broadcast, a defiant global address. He would speak directly to humanity, invoking historical moments of resilience, Britain's defiance in World War II, the civil rights movements in America, the courage during natural disasters. He would remind humanity of their collective strength in adversity. The preparations were swift. Tanya, now embedded within the resistance team as a civilian liaison, assisted tirelessly, managing communications and ensuring the broadcast reached every surviving network and channel worldwide. "You sure you're ready for this?" she asked quietly, adjusting his tie before the camera setup in a makeshift studio beneath the battered northwestern campus. Alex offered a small smile, heart racing. "No, but humanity needs this." As he took his position, a quiet settled over the bustling technicians. He inhaled deeply, channeling strength from the countless heroes he'd studied throughout history. "People of Earth," Alex began steadily, his voice firm despite the fear pulsing in his veins, "we stand at the brink of our darkest hour. Our cities burn, our monuments crumble, but our spirit endures." His speech flowed powerfully, passionately invoking moments humanity overcame seemingly impossible odds. Across the world, people huddled together in shelters and ruins, listening intently. Hope flickered, sparking embers of defiance once more. The Zarkin responded immediately, their arrogance peaked into reckless aggression. They intensified attacks, yet predictably targeted the newly revealed resistance hubs, exactly as Alex had anticipated. Humans had strategically abandoned those locations, leaving behind traps and ambushes filled with improvised explosives and decoys. As predicted, the Zarkin, unable to conceive of such intricate deception from primitive creatures, fell spectacularly into these elaborate traps. Victories, though costly, began to mount. Each success was broadcast, reinforcing Alex's powerful message: humanity would fight, endure, and overcome. Yet, amidst growing hope, a brutal reminder of their enemy's overwhelming power came suddenly. News arrived from New York: one of humanity's strategic hubs had fallen decisively. The Zarkin broadcast their victory, brutally parading captured soldiers, forcing humanity to witness their apparent superiority. Alex watched in anguish, fists clenched, heart heavy. Tanya stood quietly beside him, expression hardened by grief and resolve. "We need another plan, Alex. Something bigger, more decisive." Alex's mind raced desperately through history, searching for a decisive turning point, a strategic masterstroke. Suddenly, a chilling yet brilliant thought struck him. "We hit them where they're strongest," Alex announced firmly. "Their flagship." General March stared incredulously. "That ship is impenetrable. We can't even get close." "Not physically," Alex countered, excitement building in his voice, "but we can infiltrate electronically. Their arrogance makes them vulnerable. They've left gaps in their cybersecurity, dismissing our technological capabilities." A hush fell across the room. March considered briefly before nodding resolutely. "How do we proceed?" "We launch a global, coordinated cyber attack," Alex explained, eyes blazing with renewed determination. "We overwhelm their systems simultaneously, blinding their flagship long enough to deliver a decisive strike." Preparations began immediately, a frantic yet focused global effort. Hackers from every nation united, pooling expertise, coding furiously around the clock. Humanity had one chance, a gamble against impossible odds, relying entirely on the Zarkin's overconfidence. As the countdown neared 0 hour, Alex, General March, and Tanya stood quietly in the bustling command center, the tension palpable. "This feels insane," Tanya whispered anxiously. "It is," Alex acknowledged grimly, "but history favors the bold." March nodded solemnly. "And today, humanity makes history." At precisely noon, coordinated cyber attacks erupted worldwide, thousands of hackers relentlessly bombarding Zarkin defenses. The flagship, momentarily overwhelmed, struggled against the unprecedented assault. For a brief, critical window, its defensive systems faltered. "Now!" General March ordered sharply. A squadron of fighter jets, each heavily modified with experimental weaponry, soared into the skies, pilots steeling their nerves for the ultimate showdown. They streaked toward the vulnerable flagship, releasing an onslaught of missiles specifically designed to penetrate its compromised defenses. Explosions blossomed spectacularly across the Zarkin flagship's surface. The ship staggered, crippled, and burning. Back in the command center, cheers erupted, relief washing over exhausted faces. But Alex knew this was only a temporary victory. They had wounded the Zarkin, yet the enemy would respond viciously. "Prepare yourselves," he cautioned gravely. "This war isn't over yet." But today, we've reminded the Zarkin, and ourselves, exactly who humanity is. And as the damaged flagship retreated, humanity rallied once again, fueled by the fierce realization that they were not merely fighting for survival, they were defending the essence of who they were, a species whose true strength lay not in weapons, but in their unyielding, indomitable spirit. In the wake of the flagship's crippling, the Zarkin collective's fury erupted with unprecedented force. Earth's brief moment of celebration quickly dissolved into renewed urgency, as Zarkin reinforcements poured into the solar system, intent on punishing humanity for daring to defy them. For Alex and General March, the hours following the successful assault were consumed by relentless strategizing. Victory had emboldened humanity, but Alex knew complacency could swiftly become their undoing. He paced the command center, eyes locked onto maps and sensor feeds tracking the approaching enemy armada. Each glowing dot represented impending doom, yet each was also an opportunity. "We need another breakthrough," General March muttered, exhaustion evident in her voice. "We can't just repel them, we need to break their will." Alex nodded thoughtfully. His mind churned, searching historical archives in his memory for the decisive factor in countless battles. Suddenly, clarity struck like lightning. "We need to capture one of their commanders," Alex stated firmly, eyes blazing with determination. "A symbolic victory, one that breaks their morale." March stared at him, stunned. "Capture? How?" "They're heavily guarded." "Precisely why they'd never expect it," Alex countered, excitement growing. "We used their arrogance against them again. They'd never believe we'd attempt something so audacious." Plans swiftly formed into action. Elite units worldwide volunteered for the perilous mission, yet Alex insisted he personally oversee the operation. "They fear the historian," he reasoned fiercely, "and that's exactly who they'll meet." After careful preparation, Alex joined a specially trained unit boarding a captured Zarkin shuttle, retrofitted to mask its human crew. Tanya objected vehemently, fear etching deep lines in her face. "This isn't your battle, Alex." "It's exactly my battle," he interrupted gently. "This isn't just about war, it's about history, identity, who we become when faced with extinction." She hugged him tightly, whispering fiercely, "Come back alive, historian." The infiltration was nerve-wracking. The shuttle navigated through Zarkin patrols, each moment a tense gamble against discovery. Finally, cloaked by false transponder signals, they docked aboard the enemy command vessel orbiting menacingly above Earth. Inside, the ship was a sterile maze of smooth metal corridors and alien technology. Alex and his team moved swiftly, guided by intelligence gleaned from captured transmissions. Every corner rounded, every door breached heightened the tension unbearably. At last, they reached the Zarkin commander's chamber, an expansive room filled with holographic displays and the imposing figure of Commander Zilrath, whose reputation for cruelty was well documented. Alex stepped forward confidently, weapon raised. "Human filth," Zilrath sneered, copper eyes blazing with contempt. "You've come to beg for mercy?" "Actually," Alex replied calmly, his voice steady despite the racing of his heart, "we've come to offer you a lesson." The ensuing firefight was fierce yet swift, human adaptability clashing against Zarkin rigidity. The elite squad skillfully cornered Zilrath, disabling his defenses methodically until, at last, the commander knelt in forced submission, bound by human-crafted restraints. Broadcasting this moment live to humanity, and crucially, to the entire Zarkin collective, Alex spoke directly into the camera, voice resonant with authority and conviction. "You believed us primitive, incapable of defiance," he declared powerfully. "Yet here kneels your leader, humbled by the primitives you scorned. This is not merely our victory, it is your ultimate lesson." Across Earth, humanity watched spellbound, cheering and weeping openly. Zarkin forces recoiled, momentarily paralyzed by shock and disbelief. The myth of their invulnerability had been shattered dramatically. But victory turned swiftly to crisis. An alarm pierced the triumphant atmosphere as the Zarkin vessel shuddered violently. Reinforcements had arrived, intent on annihilating the ship rather than allowing such humiliation. Alex and his team scrambled desperately, racing through exploding corridors toward their shuttle. Fires erupted, and the damaged structure groaned under relentless assault. Just as the hangar came into view, an explosion knocked Alex to the ground, smoke blinding him momentarily. He struggled upright, head ringing painfully. Around him, his squad shouted urgently, dragging him toward the shuttle. The captured commander stumbled alongside, a defeated shadow of arrogance. "Move!" Alex shouted, voice hoarse, pushing through smoke and flames. They burst onto the shuttle, narrowly escaping a fiery death. As they rocketed back toward Earth, explosions tearing through the Zarkin vessel behind them, Alex slumped against a seat, heart pounding furiously. They had struck an impossible blow, but the cost was devastatingly clear. This fight was far from over. Yet now, for the first time, humanity had a tangible symbol of hope, a Zarkin commander, humbled and captive. Earth's spirit ignited anew, united in resolve to reclaim their planet. The Zarkin collective had come to teach Earth submission. Instead, they'd learned humanity's most profound lesson: never underestimate the strength born from desperation, courage, and the indomitable spirit of survival. In the aftermath of Commander Zilrath's capture, the Zarkin collective reeled in disarray, their arrogance shattered and their ranks divided. Humanity seized this rare moment of vulnerability, launching coordinated offensives across Earth and reclaiming lost territories with relentless determination. Back at the command center, Alex watched screens filled with hopeful victories and cautious optimism. General March stood beside him, weary but steadfast. She clapped Alex on the shoulder, nodding solemnly. "This turning point is because of you, historian." Alex shook his head modestly. This was humanity's victory. Every act of defiance, every sacrifice, led us here. Across the globe, nations began rebuilding, communities uniting stronger than ever. Tanya tirelessly coordinated civilian recovery efforts, becoming a beacon of resilience and unity. Her voice, once filled with sarcastic wit, now inspired millions to reclaim hope and dignity amidst devastation. Yet, the battle's final act was yet to unfold. Zarkin envoys, humbled and wary, contacted Earth seeking negotiations. General March immediately turned to Alex. "They want to speak with the historian," she informed him gravely. "Are you ready for this?" Alex took a deep breath, recognizing the weight of this moment. "Let's end this war once and for all." The negotiation took place aboard an orbital platform, neutral territory between Earth and the Zarkin fleet. The envoys, previously haughty and dismissive, now appeared wary and subdued. Across from them, Alex projected quiet strength, calm yet unyielding. "You underestimated humanity," Alex began clearly, his voice ringing with authority. "You came expecting primitive conquest, yet you encountered resilience, adaptability, and courage beyond your understanding." The Zarkin envoy bowed his head slightly, a gesture of grudging respect. "Your species has proven itself formidable. We seek terms to end this conflict honorably." "Peace," Alex replied simply but firmly. "Permanent withdrawal from Earth and reparations to rebuild what you've destroyed. And recognition, official acknowledgement that humanity stands equal among civilizations." The envoy hesitated briefly before nodding solemnly. "Your terms are accepted." Cheers erupted globally as news spread. Humanity's victory was complete, not merely a victory of weapons and strategy, but of spirit, endurance, and unwavering hope. Returning to Earth, Alex found Tanya waiting anxiously. She rushed into his arms, relief and joy mingling openly on her face. "You did it," she whispered fiercely. "We did it," Alex corrected gently. "All of us." Months passed as Earth rebuilt, stronger, wiser, and more united. A global celebration marked the war's end, honoring heroes, mourning sacrifices, and celebrating humanity's enduring resilience. Standing before a massive gathering, Alex spoke passionately about the lessons learned. "We faced the darkest moment in our history," he proclaimed, eyes bright with conviction. "But we prevailed, not by matching cruelty with cruelty, nor arrogance with arrogance, but by embracing the very essence of our humanity. Courage, compassion, ingenuity, these are the qualities that defined our victory." Years later, history books would remember the Zarkin invasion not merely as humanity's darkest hour, but as its finest. Schools taught the legacy of the historian, not as a singular hero, but as a symbol representing the collective strength and resilience of mankind. For Alex, Tanya, General March, and countless others, the war taught a powerful truth, that humanity's greatest strength lies not in domination, but in unity, hope, and the indomitable spirit that rises defiantly against the darkest tides. And above all, it taught the universe never to underestimate the power of a species whose strongest weapon was not technology nor brute force, but the boundless courage found within their hearts.